All right, welcome back to the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur Shift the Culture podcast. Let me apologize to our Facebook viewers. We are extremely late today. We had some circumstances that was, I ain't even gonna say beyond my control because it was under my control. It was just negligence on my part.
You dropped the ball, Greg.
Yes, I did drop the ball.
Let's make no excuses.
I take responsibility for my actions. I should have done something that I didn't do. And as a result, we ended up here in the old studio thanks to Mr. Travis Miller, who isn't on the show today, but he was so gracious to allow us back into our old space so that we could conduct this show today for you people.
There's no place like home.
No place like home. And listen, I've been wanting to do this show for a very long time. Mr. Stephen Hanna been ducking me for a little while, but when I finally got him...
Wow.
When you see me ducking...
I know you ain't ducked me, Stephen. I know you ain't ducked me. You're a busy man. I do appreciate you for taking part. I know you're still working as it stands, but you're still here, and I greatly appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much.
It's very difficult as an international consultant.
I could imagine.
He's go for an Andres.
Well, that's foreign. That ain't here, so.
That ain't domestic.
Yeah, well, it's domestic, but it ain't here, so I guess you could technically call it foreign somewhat. I don't know. No. But this is a topic I wanted to discuss because it got me, like, I didn't have on pearls when I heard it, but I clutched my chest and scratched my chest hairs a little bit because I was like, this cannot be the great Stephen Hanna, great researcher, very intelligent individual, uttering these things on the radio.
That's a dumbness. That's what you're trying to say.
No, I ain't going to call it dumbness. It was his opinion. And the thing that I do, I rather have people on the show to have discussions as opposed to just bash them for their opinions so that I could get a greater understanding of what brought them to that. You know, we could have understanding. That's what conversation is for. Mm-hmm. So I invited him on the show so that we could discuss this issue and we could get to the bottom of why he feels that way and why we disagree on this issue. But first of all, I don't like to misquote people.
So the screenshots.
Yeah, listen. I got
pulling files.
Yeah, we gotta pull files. I don't like to misquote. So what I will do is I can do this part a little bootleg. I can play this off of my phone. Mm-hmm. I have the actual clip that he said that had me, clutching my chest hairs. Mm-hmm. So I'll play it and then we will let Mr. Hanna explain. Now, Hanna, you have the floor first. So we can play it and then I'll let you explain exactly what you meant first.
Hold on. So what you're suggesting is from the clip. He requires some further explanation.
Well, hey,
he gotta explain himself.
He might have to. I don't know. He could say whether or not he needs to explain more, or if he said everything he wanted to say, and it was cut and dry.
All right.
So I'll play it, and then we could go from there.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The only way to be rich.
That's the nuance right there.
Is you have to be evil. I like people can take that however they want. People can be as very rich as they want to be, but it's like the truth of the matter is. Don't become a rich person.
Oh, no. Become a rich person.
You don't become a rich person without somebody getting hurt. Yeah. Either you inherited the money.
Yeah.
Someone was still hurt. And somebody was hurt along the way because, somebody died, or the previous owner of the money owned slaves, or did some weird stuff in the 1800s or the early 1900s.
Rum running.
Drugs,
cocaine,
anything, all sorts of things, right? Sponging.
Next person.
Right. So it's like somebody had to get hurt because money is a finite resource.
Yes.
It's $100 inside this whole entire building. If I take my dollar, you take your dollar, everything's fine. But if I take $50...
I like the fact that you said that.
All right. Mr. Hanna.
Oh, that's it?
Explain.
I thought you were going to play the whole thing.
No, but it was a 2-hour show, so I had to take out the most relevant part to this conversation. Because I think
so you have to be evil to be rich?
Yes.
All right.
And also, I need you to explain how you said it's a finite resource. Just explain that clip for us, please.
The finite resource part or the evil to be rich part?
Whatever one you want to take.
All right. Well, money is a finite resource. I mean, even if you look at it like a dollar is a certificate of something. A dollar isn't just a thing. If you print $100 and you don't have $100 worth of something, then it's just inflation. Like, that's why money says these notes are legal tender under the Central Bank Act for payment of any amount, except the amount that's on it. But yeah, it's like it's a certificate that is backed by something. Like sometimes it was backed by gold, sometimes it's backed by silver.
Well, these days it's backed by debt, basically.
Right.
Backed
then-
by nothing. But
Yeah,
that's a whole different discussion we could get into with money, because that's a whole long thing. But let's get into the rich people being evil part, or somebody having to be hurt for you to get rich. I want to hear you explain that part.
Well, I mean, it depends on where do you cut off richness? That's the question.
Hey, you tell me,
That's
buddy.
what
You
we-
said it.
No, I'm saying because if you talk about the way I define rich, right?
Go ahead.
I stand by my words. But-
Okay, what do you define as rich?
All right, so we're talking about you having an abundance of money.
What is an abundance of money?
To you,
Right.
what's the money?
It's got-
What's
this is
your
what I'm
cap?
asking.
What's your minimum? What's your cap?
It's difficult to give you like an exact number because it would be different from place to place.
At what
Well,
point?
listen,
At what
difference
point do you
between rich
say
and wealth.
this person is rich?
Are you talking about wealthy people, or are you talking about rich people? We talking about LeBron
Well, I was
rich, or
using-
we talking about Warren Buffett wealthy? Which one?
I was using the word interchangeably. All right. And
Okay. So
what I'm thinking about is not necessarily because you have more money than somebody else that you are inherently a bad person. All right. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that wealth, just in general, like where you have an obscene amount of wealth, you know what? Even if you stumbled on a gold mine, you're still not wealthy until you're able to convert that into something. But barring that circumstance, you stumbling on a gold mine in your backyard, the chances of you being rich or wealthy without exploiting or hurting your fellow man is very, very negligible. It's going to be very small.
Hold on, but that isn't what you said, though.
You said people.
You said it in an
Let me
absolute.
clarify. Yeah, no. I did.
Now
It
you're
was a fallacy.
saying the chances are, and it's very small. But when you made the statement, it was quite absolute that you have to hurt people, and you have people have to be hurt for you to be rich, and rich people are evil.
And what do you call like hurt? Like, are we talking about physical hurt? Are we talking about like exploitation? Like what are we talking about?
Talk about exploitation. Because like you can
Not,
have somebody.
not manipulation for a common gain. You need $2. I need $5 million. Is that
Well, see,
exploitation to you?
I don't understand. I don't understand your example exactly. What do you mean?
No. Okay. Say
What do you mean,
say
I
I'm a
need $2 to be
tycoon,
$5 million?
right? And
All
I want to
right.
expand my business in Brazil, and the
Right.
the going rate wage is $2,
Right.
$2 per hour. And I said, you know what? I'll go down there and I'll up it to $3.50 per hour, which is above their minimum wage. Am I evil for exploiting those people? If that's what their standing is?
Yeah.
How so? I'm taking advantage of
Yeah, that's what I figured.
economic opportunity.
Right. You're taking advantage of something. I mean, listen.
as
That's
exploitation.
my personal opinion. You know,
So being an opportunist is evil.
well, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I actually
Yeah,
agree
okay.
with Stephen on that.
Yeah, I was
being an
just gonna
opportunist, but where we depart, where we disagree is, I don't think that you have to exploit or take advantage of people to get rich.
You
No,
don't.
well, see, and here's the thing, right? In order, you have to define what is rich first, right?
But
And so
we
the-
asked you, but you ain't defined it yet.
You won't
Right,
tell
that's
us.
the problem because it's like it's a difficult thing to define. It's like
So that
it-
statement
it-
that you
it-
said, is
would
is
have-
it fair to say that statement if you are admitting that it's difficult to define what rich actually is? So what
difficult to-
was it
it's
just
di-
an empty statement on the radio?
Can we
was it
put some
just
numbers
to,
behind it just for the
Yeah, because I mean,
purpose?
it's for you to say something like that, I think you have to substantiate it with actual numbers or explanation.
Well, it is difficult to define. I mean, you guys can make me sound like a politician.
You making yourself sound like a politician.
It is difficult to define what rich is, right? In a universal sense across all circumstances, across all examples, right? Like, what it is to be rich in the Bahamas is not the same thing as to be rich inside Silicon
Okay,
Valley.
so let's limit it to the Bahamas.
Let's localize.
What is it to be rich in the Bahamas?
And which portion of the Bahamas?
Oh my God!
Oh no! In the Bahamas as a country,
New
You
Providence. New Providence.
is
New
10
Providence.
million considered rich?
The reason why I say that, all right, is because you know that if I was rich in Life Key, like among Life Key residents, I was a rich person.
You're
That is a
saying-
whole different thing than me being rich on Oodle
That's a part
Street.
of New Providence, though. That's
No,
not really the Bahamas.
Right, I'm saying. But I'm saying the difference between Oodle Street and Life Key is vast. It's like I could be rich inside Pinewood with $20,000.
No.
But Stephen, here's the thing.
Somebody say no
Let me
just now?
see.
No.
Yeah, that's Jay. Here's the thing.
Let's shut
We
that
are
down.
we
Yeah,
are
that's it,
asking
yeah.
Stephen Hanna. You.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want you to define what is rich for us. I am asking, what do you consider to be rich? You personally. Don't speak for nobody else. Don't speak for the Bahamas. Not for Gail, not for Jay, not for me. What
Right.
does Stephen Hanna consider to be rich?
What's the thing? It changes based on the contact. And you come on. It does change based on the context. It's like I can think that somebody with $1 billion is rich. I can also think somebody with $700 million is rich. I can think somebody with $3 million is
would you
rich.
be
Stephen,
able
you can run for
to
office, eh?
would you be able to hint to, let's say, a specific person in our society that you would say is rich?
All right, I would
Hint
think
to,
that.
if you don't feel like calling names.
Got a couple
Hint to.
names.
I was about to call a name.
It's up to you. If you wish, then cool.
No. Okay. All right. So
You gave him out, man.
Yeah. I'm
Thank
trying
you.
to help my
Thank you,
brother
Jill.
out,
I'll
man.
call
Thank you,
names
Jill.
who I think rich.
He been creating all kind of outs, and you just gave him the next one.
Okay, for example, who would
Right.
you say are the top 5 richest people in the Bahamas right now? And New Providence right now?
can I call them by occupation versus their actual name?
You scared it.
Go ahead.
All right. So number
Their
boys.
money.
Number boys.
Go
Right,
ahead, baby.
That's pretty vague. Number boys.
Number
all
boys.
that's it.
Number boys. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Then you have persons who own banks, but then also inherited their money from various sources.
Okay, we know who you
So
talking
trust
about.
fund babies.
Right.
Okay, go
That was
on.
in the trust
So
fund.
like,
You could throw pastors in there.
pardon?
Any pastors?
A bishop.
I mean, do you know any pastors that rich?
A bishop.
I think I don't now personally. I ain't seen nobody bank account, but
Right.
from what I've seen in terms of their residence, their vehicles, the suits,
Bentley riding.
the lifestyle, the jets.
Some of
Yeah.
these people in debt, you know.
Well, hey, this is why I said I haven't seen their bank statement, so I cannot
Right.
speak to exactly what they own. But I'm talking about in terms of their assets and just hearsay. I don't like to go off of hearsay, but if I look at that, I mean, if you got jets, if you got big
Bentleys.
mansions, you got these high-end vehicles, I would think you have some form
sort
of
of
wealth.
wealth. Yeah.
I mean, I guess. Listen, if you say so, like, if they did, then yes. If you had pastors who were able to own all those things, no mortgage because it's just off the back of the people in the
Yeah.
ghetto where they have their church, then 100% yes.
Okay, I have 2 things. Number 1, I agree with Stephen in terms of the exploitation. There is
Me
some
too.
exploitation that occurs. Usually.
What's the difference between exploitation and taking advantage of an opportunity?
Exploitation is basically feeding off of a perceived need or lack, right? So if you get rich, for example, let's say off of Spanx, which has been done, which is the underwear for women, that kind of, what are you exploiting in that sense? A sense of insecurity.
Hold on, you consider that exploitation?
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
that's
I'm just
filling a
saying.
need.
Are you filling a need? Is it a necessity? No.
According to the women, it is.
What are you feeding off of?
Their
It's a
desire
market.
to deceive.
That's a market.
Not a desire to deceive.
It's a market. Yeah.
You feel a
a
little
woman's
better, and you
desire-
look a little better when everything is maybe a
But
little
tight.
closer together.
But I can
That's
make the
all.
argument that you helping people because if somebody feels better,
You
aren't you helping
can,
somebody?
but it's not a need,
Yeah,
right?
But no, it's not a need to you.
Listen
but
to
the person
listen
that's
to what I'm
purchasing
saying.
it.
It's no,
But
it's
I'm
not
saying
a
you can make
need.
that
It's
argument
not a
for
need.
anything.
But we can't.
You can survive without it.
No,
It's
but
not a need.
I think what you're doing is
Yes, he is
dangerous.
positive.
You're not allowing me to complete my
Okay,
point.
go ahead. Sorry.
Now, the second thing is that, okay, he mentioned the numbers bosses, for example. Numbers
Right.
bosses are also exploiting our people. They're
Right.
exploiting an addiction almost, I would say, because
No.
gambling is an addiction in our country. Now,
Also
do people...
desperation.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Desperation.
Also desperation.
Desperation, and then a false sense of hope.
Right.
in that if I do this, this may be the outcome. And that is something that usually people, I would say, on the lower strata, the income level, would actually participate in. Not to
No,
say it's not
it's-
against.
it's-
Let me finish, Dread.
Go
Not
ahead.
to say it's not against the people who have more money, but they are exploiting something,
I agree.
right?
Uh-huh.
So that's number one. I was trying to agree with Stephen on that in a bit. I guess he could develop that exploitation part, but I do feel as though to get to that level that you would determine rich, you are exploiting something along the way. Now, the second point that I wanted to make is that I actually had a conversation with Mr. Smith today, and we were talking about this whole concept of rich people being evil. And we discussed basically the premise that money brings out whatever is within you already. So you could be an evil person while you broke.
True.
Money just gives you access to a higher level of doing whatever it is that you're doing in a more sophisticated manner, I would say. So it isn't that money would make you evil. If you're already evil, money just gives you access to ways to exploit that to your full advantage or whatever the case may be. But not to say that, oh, all of a sudden I'm rich and now I'm evil. It's, oh, I have this money. Now instead of stealing your car, I could import cars with guns and drugs in them.
But
Right.
go ahead, Stephen.
Oh no, I agree with that. Also, I mean, my whole thing is like when I say in order to be rich, you have to be evil. When I said it that day, right? What I'm thinking of is you have, for example, something like sponging, right? Where literally they wrote laws that only allowed poor fishermen. You go out, you get the sponge. They're buying it for pennies per pound, and they're selling each one for 11 pounds, right, to the international people, right? So they're making over hundreds and hundreds, like times what they paying you for it. But also, they're not paying you in money. They're sending you with a certificate to their store to buy or to credit stuff.
Hold
And,
on,
like,
what?
I'm
Yeah,
talking about
I
the stuff
remember
in
that.
there.
Yeah.
Seriously?
This is real. This was real.
This happened inside the 1800s and the early 1900s, right? And this is
Yeah,
why
this is real.
a lot of persons who have funny spelling names downtown, right? That's why they're rich.
Yeah.
Because their ancestors exploited our ancestors or other people's ancestors, right, in order to get that wealth. They literally wrote laws where it's like, even if you found out that the people from Britain would pay you £100 for your sponges, you could not sell directly to them. It was illegal to do that. You had to sell it to the Greeks, and the Greeks would have to sell it to the other people. That happened,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then they would go to the fishermen, right? And because you are out on the boat for weeks at a time, your children need food, and so they'd say they could credit from us, right? Literally, we have historic documents where the people said they bought stuff that wasn't good enough to be thrown away in the States. Right? Like, this is garbage what they're giving these people. But they're overcharging them for it. So by the time I come back as a fisherman, I owe you more money than I made on the boat.
Wow.
I was like, that's how persons got into debt early on. That's how other people got really, really super rich. And it's like, that's one example. But like, let's say you have an example where you don't exploit your own people, where you have something like rum running, right? Where
Oh, talk about that.
you have persons where it was illegal, where prohibition was going on during the early 1900s inside the States.
Steven, talk about the logo on one of the most popular Bahamian brands.
You basically being the man in the boat.
You're the man in the boat.
Right. And so, like, we were shipping alcohol to the States at high prices because it was illegal, right? And, like, everybody got rich during that time, but also the price of everything shot up. Persons bought up a lot of property. That's why certain real estate companies own property all over the place. And it's like, only certain people is able to hold on to them.
See, let me interject here.
Go ahead.
It's a few things here, right?
Go ahead.
And I think you did what a lot of people and a lot of people in media tend to do, right? And that's hyperbolizing, generalizing.
What? Where?
Here's the thing. What I gather is you took what you consider to be the most negative examples, and then you took that and laid a blanket over the entire thing.
Yep,
As
I
though
agree.
everything falls into this category or under this blanket. And I do
I would-
agree that there are some evil rich people that take advantage of poor people. We all
Right.
could agree to that,
Yeah,
I think.
I think
I think
we-
we all
yeah,
could
yeah.
agree to that. Where I think the disagreement was you put it as you have to be evil in order to get rich as a generalized, absolute statement.
All right,
Instead
so-
of
So can you think of an example of anybody that has gotten rich without some exploitation along the way?
well,
One
I
second.
like that.
And I think also, I think a lot of people tend to characterize certain characteristics like cunning, being opportunistic, being manipulative as
Exploiting.
no.
actually,
no.
I look exploit isn't a bad word. Exploit is to make full use of.
Okay.
If
It's
you-
not
I
a
mean,
bad word.
Yeah.
I think we put a negative connotation to the word
because
exploit.
we use words like exploitation and we think about slavery, we think about child sweatshops,
Right.
we think about
Right.
sex workers, we think about those type
we
of
apply
things.
it to the negative
Right.
situations.
Just
Right.
So
But also, I mean, okay. Here's
hold
the
on,
thing,
brethren. You done had the floor. You done paint everybody as evil. It's time to let's wash this up. Now, if you have people like Greg, myself, I aspire to be rich. For me, I have a number for rich. I have a number for wealthy. There are levels to this thing, right? And I don't have to go and take advantage of somebody else's situation to get to that level. Now, based on how I get there, you might perceive what I'm doing as evil because just say I get rich from rock music, right? I'm influencing a whole generation of kids to be gangbangers or with this, so that you might say that I'm evil, but it's based on your perception. I think your perception is a bit flawed. I think we need to put our grown man pants on and look at it like this. Taking advantage of a situation or being opportunistic is not evil.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion.
As long as it's give and take. As long as there's give and take and there's fair trade.
But he's right.
There's nothing wrong
It's a
with
matter
it.
of opinion.
The
It's a
reason
matter
why-
of opinion. But when well,
The reason why I say that is because literally the same argument that you make is the same argument that I take it to the furthest point. Slave masters could have made that same argument. Like, and they did, and they said,
But there was
it
no
was
fair trade.
but you know what? Here's the
no,
difference.
they literally said these Africans are better off in the new world with us feeding them than being inside primitive dark
No, but-
continent Africa.
But here's the difference, right? Let me, and this is what we missing, what we mentioned yet.
Go ahead.
Personal responsibility, right?
Yeah.
At some point, personal responsibility has to come into account. So, if Gail has a piece of property that's
Right.
valued at $100,000,
Yes.
Right.
and Gail says, "Listen, I want to get rid of this property. I will sell it to you for $40,000,
Or 50,
and
let's
I
say
know
now.
it's worth $100,000."
Yes.
And I say, "Well, Gail, I will give you $40,000." Am I taking advantage of Gail?
Knowing that you could sell it for
Am I
$250,000.
taking advantage
if Gail knows what it's worth and she's willing to do that, that's different.
Okay, see, this is personal responsibility. If there's a situation where someone
Gail
agrees,
does it, no.
If someone agrees, like let's say you go get a job, they say, "This is our task for you. This is what we are willing to pay you to do this task." If you say, "Yes, sir, boss, I will do that task for that pay," is the person that's hiring that person exploiting that person? If they have agreed to this salary.
I mean, they
And
are
see,
exploiting
the
them,
difference, and this is why is a difference with slavery. Slaves did
No,
not.
I understand.
they
It's
didn't-
exactly
They
like
didn't bother. They
You
didn't
were-
negotiate.
argument
You
is
guys
fair.
were making the correlation just a while ago. Slaves
the
didn't say,
argument is
"You
fair.
know what? You're right. We are better off with the food. Yes, we sign up for that. Let's do this. Let's do this. We agree with that." Slaves were forced.
Some of them did say that. Though.
Well, I mean, we could make that argument too. But for the most part, they were forced and with violence and death.
Right.
That's different than someone saying, "I agree to sell you this for this," and the person knowing that it's undervalued, paying the price that the person is willing to sell it for.
Even if they're doing that out of desperation?
Even if they're doing it out of desperation, you made decisions that put yourself in a desperate state. you put yourself in a position to be so desperate that you will sell something for less than you know its value.
I
But
agree
I'm
with
saying-
both sides.
So
I understand both sides of the
accountability
argument.
and responsibility has to come into play at some point.
And I feel
Yeah,
like
no.
your own perception of money and how you view money and gaining wealth and so on will adjust your answer to this question. And I
Yeah.
think that we're taught to view wealth and being rich a certain way, whereas that may not be, the healthiest way or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to accept that you are in some way exploiting something.
Right, and exploiting isn't bad.
Stephen, do you
There is a
aspire to be
definition
rich?
that is negative. Make use of a situation considered unfair or unhand. So exploitation is not all good.
Well, again, and it's not all bad.
I'm just
So we
saying.
so
No,
we
it's
have to
just
be
a-
careful,
it's
and
a
that's why
thing.
context is important.
No, right, and which I mean, I said that earlier. But it's not all good or all bad because it's just a thing. It's like a stick isn't good or bad. It's just a stick, right? You can exploit a stick and make fire, or you can exploit a stick and build a house or whatever. When you start talking about exploiting people, right, it becomes a little bit different because I assume that you treat human beings different than you treat a stick.
I mean,
Well, some people. But I mean, the thing is, it goes back to what you consider to be exploitation in a negative way. You see, I
Dakota-
think that's where we're departing.
Dakota
Certain
say,
situations-
Greg always exploiting my family's weakness with those cookies.
Greg selling crack.
And some people may consider what I'm doing as evil, you know
Yes,
what I mean?
yeah.
yes.
Taking advantage of people.
With
these good
telling them these
cookies.
things, you know
Yes,
they shouldn't be
making
eating
them
these
fat.
things. I would be an evil person in some people's eyes.
Rhea brought
You
up a
would?
good thing as well.
Right.
She said, what about the church? Churches sell
Well, I
hope
mentioned
too
that.
when you gotta wait a little longer for your payout.
You gotta
Yeah.
die.
And
What you
she
mean wait a little
also
longer? You
she
gotta wait
also
the
said,
ultimate length.
what's wrong with being sharp or cunning? We've been taught to be meek and sweet to protect the interests of those who taught us to be that way.
Who said to not be cunning? That was
Yeah.
Jay. Jay's the only person who said cunning before that person.
Okay,
They
we
said
ain't,
people look at cunning as a,
we
as a
ain't
bad
saying
thing.
he says, she said, right? But cunning, in terms of being cunning and actually having like business acumen and stuff like that. Like, why is
Take
that
advantage
seen so
of the
negative?
situation.
Yeah, I-
For
It
your
is
best
seen as a
interest.
negative thing.
Yeah, my whole thing was I just didn't like it being put out there because I think it's already a general consensus with most people, especially most poor people. They tend to look at people that have money as evil, or they had to get it
Because
through some
it's-
evil means.
Because it's
Okay.
it's
And
you're coming from a
I-
place of envy.
okay.
You
And it's
want
not-
to be in their
And
place.
it's
True.
exactly. They
That's
envy
true.
them. They want to be rich, and they need some kind of explanation or justification for
Excuse.
why they're not rich, and so they default to, well, this person must be evil or must have obtained this wealth through some form of
nefarious
evil
means.
ways. And I don't
All right.
like people reinforcing that mentality. You understand?
But
Because
it's
all
true,
it does is it keeps those people thinking that, and then they will never lift themselves up because they think that they have to be evil in order to do so.
And as
But
entrepreneurs,
some-
I think
but
we
some of
need to
those
have a
persons-
mentality and projection of I will attain a certain amount of wealth or riches, and I don't. And so that means if rich people are evil, entrepreneurs are worse.
No, but here's the thing: certain people will never be able to lift themselves up to that standard because they're. You know that it's okay. Tell me that a person can get to $100 million in the Bahamas, and talking about like they have $100 million, whether in assets or actual cash money,
That's possible.
without doing anything that is morally bankrupt.
We live in a
Again-
global society. There's the stock market. There's currency
saying.
exchange.
Bahamians.
Again,
No, Bahamians are doing that.
But hold on,
Who?
y'all see, y'all miss that little caveat, right?
I need
He's
an
saying,
example.
you see, morality, that is subjective, right?
But evil is
Let's say
subjective.
not breaking a
No,
law.
evil is
What is
Rather than
moral-
morality,
what is-
let's say not
But he's
breaking a
saying
law.
moral, so what is moral to you may not be moral to me and vice versa.
Right.
Right.
it's-
So
but
what I'm
I'm
saying
saying-
is, let's take a morality. Let's
Okay.
say not breaking the law.
Oh, you can do
No.
it.
You could do
No, but
that.
I'm saying,
Who?
no, but again, that's the thing, though.
Wait,
Evil
I don't
itself is a moral thing. Like when you do something evil, you're doing something that's not moral, right?
Yeah, but
So it's
who defines what's moral?
I mean, the community. That'll be a community thing. So
No,
like,
that's I disagree because look
It
at
wouldn't be-
referenda, right? Some people
Okay.
feel certain things are moral, and some people feel it don't. It isn't. So the
Right.
community doesn't even agree all the time. So how can you say the community when we have people within the community that are going to disagree on
Yeah,
what's
but
moral
the
and what's
same
not?
community that disagreed on paper with it are the same ones buying the numbers.
This is what I'm saying. So how can who defines what's
That's
moral?
why I'm saying take out the moral thing
No,
and
but
put
he
it in
keeps
breaking
referring
the
to
law.
morality.
breaking the law.
Morality is based up on society. Society creates what is moral or what isn't moral.
I like what she's doing, and
Yeah.
even by
Legally, I like that as well.
when we go
because
with
that's-
legally,
that's black and
it's
white.
still open
Okay, fine.
for
Let's
people
go
to
with
create
legally.
wealth. Like there are so many avenues. We live in a very
But I'm
global
just
society.
saying,
You
looking-
can't look at the borders of the Bahamas anymore. Like
Okay,
the
but-
world is open.
Yeah.
We discussing the Bahamas, let's say, right? Can you give me an example of somebody that has not broken
But
the
that's-
law in some way
here's the thing, you
to
know what?
attain their
I
wealth?
Here's
came
why
from
it's
0
difficult.
to
Let me
Brent
tell you why.
Seminary.
Let me tell you why it's
Brent
difficult.
Seminary.
You see,
He hasn't ducked any customs duty.
No, but
I'm not gonna
I'm
go.
just
I'm not gonna
asking.
go with the assumption of him ducking.
I'm just asking.
Let me tell you why we can't answer that.
Okay.
We cannot answer that.
Okay.
Because unlike other countries like the United States where they have income tax and all these other taxes where they can actually get some idea as to what you make, we have no way of tracking what anybody makes, so we don't know who have what in this country.
That don't sound off to you already?
Might have some it is off, I agree, but you might have some 100 millionaires, maybe even a billionaire or two over here already.
They
Of
have a-
course.
And you don't know. So I can't give you names because I don't know what these people have.
Okay.
So that's a
Okay.
question that I can't answer.
Okay.
I'm
No
just
problem.
saying-
I'm just suggesting that I don't
Why could she try to
personally.
chastise me?
Hi, Chrissy. I just looking at the top, let's say the top 10 people who are described as the wealthiest or richest people in the Bahamas, there has been some illegal activities
Yeah.
somewhere along the way.
I don't know. Well, okay, like who?
The only person
me-
she could be talking about is the number boys.
Give me the
Flowers
Let's
No,
say
and
the,
it's
Tabas.
let's
They
say the,
operated
it
outside of
isn't
the
that
law.
the only one, but
No, they operated
Let's say
operated
that.
outside of the law until the law changed. They attained they,
According to them, it wasn't outside of the law.
because
It was
it
under
was a
jurisdiction.
great
But
area.
here's the thing,
we all
Anthony.
know
But
it's
again,
outside of
hold
the
on,
law.
no. It was a gray area, and they took advantage of a situation.
Didn't you get
because,
arrested?
Huh?
It
If
wasn't
you were
a
in the
gray
number,
area.
didn't they round you up and arrest
Yeah,
you?
if you gambling, but never the number bosses.
Oh,
No,
well,
it
that's
was-
the
And-
next
and
one.
what happened?
That's the next thing.
Has anybody, while it was illegal, has anybody ever served time? No.
Of course not. Let's
No,
say
they
the
used to confiscate
major
your stuff.
import/department stores that maybe make up a large portion of a local mall. Do you pay how much, let's say,
Chrissy,
for
stop.
a puzzle? $10 for a puzzle, but by the time it reaches that store, you're paying $27 for a puzzle. Like these little things, I'm just
I mean,
saying.
what you talking about? You say you pay 10, but listen. Here's my thing. You could charge whatever you want to charge. If you bring in this bottle of water for 67 cents and you decide to sell it for $5, that's on you.
Now, if you bring in this bottle
If
of
someone
water,
buy it, that's
on-
on them.
Someone paying?
if you bring in this bottle of water on your boat casually into Lyford Key and offload it and don't pay customs tax
Nah,
and
that's different.
VAT and etc.
That's a
different.
crime.
But the
That's
example-
all I'm trying to
no,
say.
But the example you gave wasn't that. You gave an example of bringing in something for a very low price and selling for a very high price. Everyone has a right to sell whatever they
Yeah.
bring in for whatever they want to charge.
Okay,
It's
that
up to the
wasn't-
market to whatever
No,
the
but
market
see-
is willing to pay. That's
Yeah,
what
but
you
then-
can charge.
That wasn't
That's
what I
the
was
thing. That's the next
referring
problem
to.
with
Sorry.
The assumption there is that the market will regulate itself.
And
And
let's
the
not,
market
let's,
is
hold
in
on.
collusion.
Let's not demonize Life and Key
Which is-
as,
hold on,
as the
let-
only.
I
me
ain't
get-
demonized nothing. I
Hold on,
just
say
trying.
it
I
again,
just was
Steven.
saying things. It's
I
coming
think-
through there.
Say it again.
I said your assumption is that the market will regulate itself and that the market isn't in collusion.
My thing is, the best
Yeah.
way is for the market to regulate itself.
No, but I'm saying if me and you are the only people selling cookies in Nassau, right? And you
No,
selling
no,
cookies
cookie business.
for $8 a dozen, why would I could undercut you
Right?
and start selling cookies one for a quarter, but that don't make no sense. Like at the most I'll undercut you is 50 cents or a quarter.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna undercut you by a whole $6.
Okay.
Even though I could still make a profit.
Fine.
So it's like me and you could sit here and just literally keep on going up on the price of cookies.
Uh-huh.
I see that you selling cookies for $8, so I say okay, I can
That's
sell them
what
for $8.
happens.
Then you say 9, and then I say 9. Then
No.
you say 10, and I say 10.
No, I
So
agree.
nobody could afford cookies.
I agree, but that's what happens. Now,
But I'm saying, imagine now doing that with something like water, where people
Which
need
has
it.
been done.
but that's the thing. That
And
now-
gasoline.
Well, those things, I agree that those things can take place. And I agree certain situations it's difficult or even impossible for the market to regulate certain things.
It's not impossible, you know. You have to grab the market, and you have to allow people. And this is the
You have to
word
enforce it.
that we've been throwing around. Not allow people to exploit
Right?
needs. Right? You could exploit all you want, luxuries and desires, because like you don't need to go to the movies. So if you want to charge $80 for a movie ticket, that's
your
whatever.
wife.
Hold on, when Marvel
When
movies, I need to go to the movies.
when IMAX
That's
come,
your
IMAX
wife.
ain't gonna be cheap, buddy.
when you see Black Panther come out, I can need to go to the movies.
I can need to see it
so
in
you
IMAX.
can't tell me I don't need to go to the movies.
No, but you need healthcare to
No,
live.
I get your point.
And so it's like I cannot. It wouldn't be fair for a person to be like, well, I will. We will not. I don't know. Give this person aspirin because aspirin is $1.25 and they only have 85 cents. Like, to make that's a ridiculous example,
Rich
but
people ain't
I'm
evil,
just
though.
saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
Rich
listen. I wish
People
the show
are
was
not
longer.
evil by nature of them being rich. I think just
Can
money
we
just
accept
brings
that?
out whatever is within you. If you are awful person, you could be an awful person when you broke and when you rich.
No,
So
you
don't
do,
matter.
But you do admit that you don't necessarily have to be evil or do evil things to get rich. Can we agree on that?
No.
No.
Why not?
we can't?
No.
Because that's the thing, right? Let's set a number. We'll set the number at $25 million.
Oh, now you wanna set a
Okay,
number?
$25 million. Let's go.
35
No,
minutes ago we actually
$25 million. He got it. He got it. He got
25 mil.
it. Bang.
All right,
Let's
go
set a
ahead.
Done.
number-
Without
let's
doing
set a
anything
number.
wrong.
$25 million. You start off this life broke. You come from a family that don't own nothing.
Okay.
You
Okay.
become an MP.
Nothing at all.
Oh, my
Right?
bad. Go ahead.
No.
20
Go ahead.
25. Make it to $25 million without doing something
Something.
You don't believe that that's possible?
more. I don't. But here's
You
the
have
thing.
limited thinking.
I'm willing.
I would you,
I'm
babe.
willing to be incorrect.
Steven,
willing to correct.
Steven,
Okay.
as a creator,
You know what?
as a creator,
Stephen, I would you, baby.
I am very, very disappointed in
I am
you.
disappointed as
Why?
well.
I'm very
Why are you
disappointed.
disappointed?
I am
First of all,
very,
I got-
very
I'll
disappointed.
do
you
the
got
maths.
along the way. You gonna have to do something. But
No.
you ever watch the show
No,
called Billions?
no.
I disagree. I will
No.
never.
Guys,
We'll
No.
agree to
subscribe
disagree
No.
then.
Yeah, I'll
No.
never
We'll agree
subscribe
to
to that.
disagree. You
Never.
ever watch a show
That's-
called Billions?
I'll never subscribe to that. No,
How do you
I saw
guys
the
jump from-
preview for that.
How do you
I
get
didn't get
from
into
zero
it.
Check it out,
to
baby.
25 million?
There are many ways you can do it, Stephen, right?
How?
And
Taking
listen,
advantage of situations, networking with people
Steven.
that are of.
If,
Anyway,
Stephen,
you know what? I can't give him the formula.
If it was so cut and dry, listen, if you do these things right here and this amount of time, you will have that exact money right in your bank account. If it's that cut, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all.
It's taking
Right,
advantage.
be
It's
honest
taking
with you.
advantage of
But-
situations.
No, but that's the thing, Gregory. There are ways to do it.
Yes.
It's just that the ways to do it, you will not do. And there's a reason you will.
No.
No, I don't agree with
No.
that. Because let me give
Greg.
you let me give you one example, right?
You
Let's-
could ship people into the.
You want me to give you the example?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, I ain't gonna tell you what I'm making now, right? But I make a decent amount of money right from my kitchen, right? Now, with expansion and opening actual stores where I could then generate more income, I could see myself getting to $25 million.
Way to go, Greg.
And that's off of cookies. Another example, as a creator, someone has a TV show, talk show, whatever it is, right? A personality. You could set up a website if you generate enough interest. We have a population of what, 400,000? If you have a certain amount of subscribers that are paying $5, $10, $15 a month to subscribe to your shows, you could also make $25 million. There are many ways you can do it without
No.
being evil or doing evil things.
Right. Listen, I said from zero though.
I'm talking about from zero, Steven.
No. Me and you ain't coming from zero.
I'm coming from zero.
How you coming from zero?
What you mean,
Me
how
and
I
you
coming
been-
from zero?
Everybody comes from
Steven,
zero.
you know
No.
what? My parents tried to put me in private school, and you know what used to happen? You know in the assembly where I used to call you out because your school fee ain't paid?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I paid
Sitting
you
under
that.
the pavilion.
And I had to go to government school where it was free. And I had to go to school with no lunch money many times.
Yep.
Catching the bus.
Walk home.
Walk home sometimes. So I don't know what kind of wealth or money you think I coming from.
No,
but
I
I
don't think
start
that-
from zero. When I became an adult, my bank account was I didn't even have a damn bank account. So that's 0, 0, 0, 0. So what do you mean I ain't starting from nothing?
Well, no, I didn't. I said that you are starting from zero. Yeah, because you
Okay,
still
Steven.
would- Yeah.
You're defeated.
Come on,
bro.
Steven.
Come on, bro.
I think you have a defeatist.
Steven, I
think
agree
you have
with
a
you,
defeatist
dog.
mentality on this issue.
I agree with you, baby.
It's not a defeatist mentality, but okay.
Yeah, I think it's
a
a defeatist mentality. That's my opinion.
It's 2 versus
Based off
2.
of-
We had a draw.
Based off what you've been saying, but I just wish the show was longer because I'd like to go so much deeper into it. But unfortunately, we done run over time, and we got a next show to do. Steven, we must have this conversation again. We must do a part 2.
Yes.
So that
With
you and
HD
Jake
cameras so I
can
can sell
more
it.
because I made you guys feel guilty for wanting money.
I don't
feel guilty. I still going for my money, bro.
Steven, you're a good
Yeah.
guy. Don't give yourself that much credit, eh?
But hey, trust me.
Don't give yourself that much credit.
know what, Steven?
I don't feel guilty at all.
Just between me and you, when I get it, I can slap you a little something so you can be evil too. You can think that one as a kickback.
But thank you again, Stephen. I appreciate it. I know you're still on the job. You're a hardworking man. I appreciate you for taking the time out to have this discussion with us. I just wanted to, get it out. I don't like when people throw certain things out because you guys that are on the major radio networks don't understand the amount of power and influence that you have over the listeners.
I'm realizing
they take
that.
what you guys say in a lot of cases as fact, as truth, and as what it is. So I just wish people would be a bit more cautious with their statements. And I understand you have to entertain and you have to be, you have to hyperbolize some things and you have to sensationalize at times. But I think we should be more, explain a bit more, provide more context, and don't just throw blanket statements just based off certain opinions that you have. You know what I mean? That was my whole thing.
Okay,
Man's
see,
not
here's
hot.
my thing, right? My thing is, it's fine. You don't have to agree with me. What I don't agree with is that you have a difference of opinion, I have a difference of opinion. My difference of opinion does not mean that I was exaggerating, or this would mean that I'm completely incorrect. It just means that we have a difference of opinion.
No, you were completely incorrect by saying that it's every case.
Wow. And Greg don't like to tell people they completely
Yeah,
Alright.
I see. I think we mix up fact
Sort of all the
we mix up
time.
fact and opinion. I think that is factually incorrect that you said.
Man's not hot.
Now,
Well,
if you
one
have
way-
an opinion that I disagree with, we just disagree on opinion. I have a difference of opinion. But to say that you have to be, there's no way you can avoid being evil or doing evil things to get rich.
Right.
I think that is completely false.
There are so many ways, so many paths.
And
The
even when the
only way-
show first started, you said there's very small chance. You
Right.
even admitted that there's a
You could-
possibility that you can. So
Right, you could stumble on a gold mine.
No, it's not just that. It's not just that.
Anyway,
Like,
Not
thank
just
you very
precious
much for joining
resources.
us.
yes, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it so much. Like I say, I wish we could, go longer, but this show was only so long. But it was a great conversation. I appreciate your point of view, your opinions, and it was a good discussion. Appreciate you,
My
Gail.
incorrect
Appreciate you,
opinion.
Jay. Thank you as always. And until next time, again, and listen to this. You listening, Stephen? You listen, right? This is our closing, eh? Losers make excuses. Winners make adjustments. Always remember that, people. Until next time, next Thursday, hopefully 4:30, I can pay my light bill. My light bill I didn't pay it today, so we can be home next time. We can be on time next week.
Wow.
We can be on time. I fall off this week, but we can be on time next week. So thank you, people. Appreciate it. Until next time. Later.
You want to see my jacket because of the little piece of cold front we had this morning?